Phil Steele picked Marshall to finish where? It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Okay, we are on Mama Schultz's desk in humidity-free central New York. Sorry about the shadows, but that's the way the sun is shining this morning. All right, let's talk about, I wanted to preview Marshall, mostly because I picked up the College Football Bible on last weekend, and we hit the Sun Belt, of course, first, even before Syracuse. And everything was basically consensus. There wasn't, App State is picked in the East. Texas State is picked in the West. The Cajuns are picked second. And then I think it's Arkansas State. ULM is picked at the bottom. JMU is picked in the middle, a little bit low maybe. But it's the Marshall Thundering Herd that are the surprise. Now, a couple things for this. If you don't know, just to make sure we're clear, these are not, when Phil Steele does this, these are not sources. These are not from what he's hearing type of deal. He thanks the coaches all offseason. Thanks for hopping on and talking about your, 2024 Marshall Thundering Herd. So whatever's in this book, all right, outside of the statistics that he has compiled, he got it straight from Charles Huff. All right. The other problem, issue, I guess, is that another word for problem, is that we have, publishing days and then news that comes out after it is published. And maybe that would have changed the whole idea here. He thinks the defense is outstanding. They have a transfer in Mitch Griffiths. And they figure they'll figure out the running game. However, shortly after going to print and, it being published, Mitch Griffith decided to hang it up from football with, oddly enough, of an announcement. And who knows how, our guy Luke Creasy found it, but he did. I'm sure someone may have told him about it. I would be shocked if Luke is following Mitch Griffiths on LinkedIn, but that's where it was. This would have been, early June. Thankful that God blessed me with the opportunity to play the game that I love. For so long, I've decided to step away from football, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter in my life. That's post spring ball. Maybe not quite transfer portal, but, it puts Marshall in a little bit of a bind. So there is some, it's not excuses or a reason. Things changed, right? The information that Phil Steele had when he predicted Marshall to finish second was one thing, and now it's completely a different thing. So we will give Phil, and again, I do need to reach out, and I'm sure he'll be happy to come on Locked On Sunbelt to discuss. But things did change, as we've mentioned, that life is about making the adjustments. So I'm sure Phil would have adjusted his pick of Marshall finishing second in the East. I mean, that is App State 1. Well, we can go from there. He's got App State 1, Marshall 2, Georgia Southern. Actually, he's got Marshall and Georgia Southern tied for second. And actually, James Madison tied for second, now that I look at it closer. Coastal Carolina 5th, Old Dominion 6th, Georgia State 7th. So I probably wouldn't have Marshall that high. And that would have been with Mitch Griffith, to be honest with you. Over in the West, he's got Texas State, the Cajuns, Arkansas State, 1, 2, 3. Troy is 4. South Alabama is tied with Troy. Southern Miss 6th, and ULM 7th. So again, like 90% of that, 95% of that seems to be consensus. Okay. I think ULM is probably going to be, I think ULM and Georgia State are both going to be better than predicted this season. We'll see if that translates into wins. But absolutely the surprise is Marshall. And I'll just read what he says. In 2022, Marshall finished 5-3 in Sun Belt play, one game back in the East, and was 50 yards plus 50 yards, number 4th in the conference. Marshall had just 4 starters back from the Rock Ribs defense last year and faced 5 bowl teams on the road. The Herd opened 4-0 and had a 9-game win streak, but went 2-7 after that with a bowl loss. This year, just 10 starters are back, but they rate plus 2.0 in the stock market indicator and were minus 11 turnovers last year, 2 signs pointing up. They faced the bottom 2 teams from the West and host App State. I think their defensive line is similar to 2022, and the air raid offense makes them more potent. They do face both Georgia Southern and JMU on the road, but they are a contender. Okay. Are they with Cole Pennington? That's going to be the thing. And I guess these 2 segments are going to roll right into each other because who is the starting quarterback moving forward? I think a couple of years ago, they didn't know. In fact, they may have had issues with that a couple of years ago. And then at Sun Belt Media Day, Charles Huff said, if it started today, Cam is our quarterback. And people need to know that moving forward. And it just didn't work out, whatever the case was. He was not as consistently good as he needed to be, probably got banged up. He's trying to do everything on his own with no Rasheen Ali was banged up. And so it obviously did not work out. He then transferred to FAU. So he is with the Owls down there. Is that the American Conference? ACC? The AAC? Is that it? Okay. Anyway. So when we come back, let's discuss the quarterback issue because I think Marshall has one, right? As we've discussed, I base my predictions on the coach and the quarterback. And when those things are good, both of them, and experienced, I think it's important, right? So Jordan McLeod, new coach, at least for him, but really good coach. They're together. They're highly rated, right? Joy Aguilar and Sean Clark, highly rated. We don't know about South Alabama's, Major Applewhite and Gio Lopez because they're both in different roles. We'll see how that turns out. We think Jalen Rayner and Butch Jones will, take it to the next level. So we think highly of them. Let's talk about what the quarterbacking is. And are they doing the air raid with Pennington? Or are they going to go to something else? Because Pennington needs to be better than he was last year. I will do that after I tell you about FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down or are finished, we get fewer games. And the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. By the way, on a side note, Yankees fan, and they've been struggling, although they did split with the Blue Jays. What kind of numbers does Aaron Judge have, on July 1st? 31 home runs and 82 RBIs? He's going to be close to Hack Wilson territory. Well, maybe not that much, but oh my goodness. I did not realize he was playing that well. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's talk about the quarterback issues that Marshall has heading into this season. OurLads.com does have Griffiths out of there. So he's got Cole Pennington, your number one QB. Braylon Braxton, redshirt junior transfer. He's in there. He went to Tulsa. And then you have Colin Parachek, who is a redshirt sophomore transfer. So we'll see. Obviously, it would seem to be Cole Pennington's job to begin with. But that was a struggle last year, right? That was not what people were hoping for by any stretch of the imagination. Way too many turnovers, not nearly enough touchdowns. He played in 4 games, 57% completion percentage, 6 interceptions, and 0 touchdowns. Yeah, that's not going to get it done. All right. And I mean, here's the problem. Cam Fancher was 1 for 1. That's better than 0 to 6. Cam Fancher had 11 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And those are always the biggest thing, right? We've heard all offseason, and any of the coaches we've talked to, it's not even necessarily how accurate you are. It's the decision you make. If you make the right decision and aren't accurate, that's easier to fix than why you made the wrong decision and are slightly not accurate. All right. Or even if you make the wrong decision and are accurate, right? You know, hey, it was right there, but you didn't see the safety coming across. All right. You saw the defensive back or linebacker trailing. You didn't see the safety coming across. Poor decision. And so that's where those interceptions are happening, whether it is the offensive line or balls getting tipped or whatever the case may be. And yes, this is Cole's first, real shot at playing, but we saw Jalen Rayner, right? 17-7, true freshman. And so we know what that possibility is. And so what does Marshall do for a quarterback? Is this where they are? Are they changing their offense? It's going to be an issue for Marshall this year. I wouldn't have had them finish second with Mitch Griffiths. They probably would have been a little bit lower than that. Probably, I mean, technically Phil Steele has them tied with JMU and Georgia Southern, but I would have more faith right now, because I love me some Charles Huff, but until I see differently, I'd have more faith in Ethan Vasco and Tim Beck with Coastal than I would with whomever is the Marshall quarterback, right? Marshall's another one of those teams that kind of like the Cajuns, and Troy, for that fact of the matter, wants to run the ball and play defense. And that's their bread and butter. Anything they get out of the passing game is almost a bonus, although last year for Troy, Gunnar Watson was very, very good. And so maybe you change it a little bit as you see him getting better and better. And so we'll see. I mean, who is the running backs, right, for Marshall heading into this season, replacing Rasheen Ali? You have Jordan Houston, senior transfer, Ethan Payne, senior, AJ Turner, redshirt sophomore, and Antoine Roberts, a redshirt sophomore transfer. Where did Jordan Houston come from? He came from NC State. So there may be a lot on his plate to keep the offense moving consistently down the field and taking the pressure off on whoever is the quarterback. I will find it interesting if we have a quarterback battle heading into the fall, or does Charles Huff name Cole Pennington the starter, and again comes to Sunbelt Media Day, says Cole's our starter as of right now. If we played a game today, that's who he would be. That's who it would be. Now, does he have to go out and win the job? You bet. Does he have to perform to keep it? Yes, sir. I don't know. We probably somewhere along the way, we need to go through who is the starting quarterbacks for all the teams. Like we don't even know who the starting quarterback is for the Cajuns. And we think they're going to be pretty good. We think either one of them is going to be okay. But we don't know that. But two guys are back. Well, we know who's going to be the quarterback for, as we've mentioned, Texas State, Coastal Carolina, App State, right? We know those teams, right? We think we know South Alabama, right? We'll see who is for ULM. I think Georgia Southern has a quarterback. I'll say controversy, but competition. Georgia State, quarterback competition. ULM, probably a quarterback competition, right? So there's a lot of teams with new potential quarterbacks. And, someone just decided that he had enough of football, puts Marshall in a little bit of a bind. But I'll be hashtag always the bright side. That's better to find out, in early June than say early August. Say they convinced him to come back. Come back to training camp, see how you're doing, start your masters, whatever the case may be. And we can go from there. Better we find out now, if I'm Marshall, than on August 15th, because that just kind of would really screw up everything. All right. So I'm going to look at this as Mitch Griffiths. I don't know if his heart wasn't into it. He'd had enough. Who knows why? Who knows why? He decided to hang it up. I don't, anyways. And so that kind of does Marshall a favor, because now they know going in, here's our quarterback situation, for better or for worse. All right, let's take a timeout. When we come back, what are expectations for Marshall? Another one of those teams that, has a winning tradition and expects to win, but everybody can't win. Do that after I come back and thank everybody. All right, 1,295. Outstanding. All right, so that's our subscriptions. Almost to 1,300. Came up short. As a friend of mine said, he picked the under, and it was the under. But boy, just 5 short. I think it was like 17 subscriptions in the first 15 days, and then 30 subscriptions in the last 13 days. Or last 15 days of the month. You guys are the best. Let's see if we can get it. So we had almost 50 subscriptions in the month of June, and you need to do better. All right. I need 100 subscriptions in July and August to get to 1,500 by kickoff on August 31st, not counting the whole week 0 stuff. No. August 31st. Even I know the Sun Belt kicks off on Thursday beforehand, but we're doing August 31st. So that is 62 days to get 205 subscriptions. I think we can do it. You guys are fantastic. Looking forward to, catching up with the coaches, seeing who we can get on. And again, Phil Steele and some maybe others and some of the other podcasters. All right. We'll probably do that post July 6th. Well, that's my birthday. Post July 4th. July 6th is a Saturday. And so we'll do that probably that week over the next couple of weeks. See if we can get some preview of Sunbelt Media Days, if you will. All right. Thank you so much. Again, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 1,300 and got pretty close to the goal. Thank you so much. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Actually getting some pretty good sun here on Mama Schultz's deck, humidity free in central New York. All right, so what are the expectations of the Marshall Thundering Herd? Again, another one of those teams that are expected to win. Georgia Southern expects to win. JMU expects to win. Coastal Carolina now expects to win. The Cajuns expect to win. Troy expects to win. There's just a lot of always those expectations, right? Southern Miss expects to win. Half the league expects to win, all right? Either has won recently in Coastal Carolina or has a tradition, Georgia Southern, JMU, Marshall, App. Same thing. All right. Marshall's win total is 6.5. So that's smack dab in the middle. Let's look over the East. App State is 7.5. So they think Marshall's going to finish right behind them. Although it's very odd, maybe because of the schedule. James Madison, 8.5 win total. App State, 7.5 win total. Marshall, 6.5 win total. Coastal Carolina, Georgia Southern, 5.5 win total. Georgia State, 4.5 win total, along with ODU. So Marshall kind of in the top half of that, I guess. James Madison, 8.5. App State, 7.5. And Marshall, 6.5. Let's check out the schedule. Because they do have not the easiest of all schedules, okay? They do get Stony Brook at home, okay? Then they get Blacksburg on the CW, baby. That's a nice little rivalry game. That's outstanding. And then you get Ohio State. So could be starting 1 and 2, right? Most likely starting 1 and 2. Western Michigan will give that a win. That's 2 and 2. They get App State at home. Tough to win on the road, but I'm going to go App State, see where we end up there. That's 3 and 2. At Georgia Southern, 2 and 3. At Georgia Southern, 2 and 4. We'll give you Georgia State. That's 3 and 4. We'll give you ULM. That's 4 and 4. At Southern Miss, 4 and 5. Coastal Carolina, I'll go 5 and 5. At ODU. So here's the thing. You get ODU on the road, and you get JMU at home. If you switched them, easily 1 and 1. All right. Actually, both these are on the road. I'm sorry. Norfolk and Harrisonburg, both of them are on the road. And so what do we end up with here? Let's see here. 2 and 2, 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 4, 4 and 4. We'll say 4 and 5, 5 and 5, 5 and 6. Even if it's 6 and 6, I mean, we're stretching it to get to 6. All right, because I'm already giving them an App State loss and a Southern Miss win. Where else are we getting a wins with? That's the only thing, right? I did the Georgia Southern as a loss. I gave them the Georgia State win, the ULM win. You know, they have to beat Southern Miss. Did I get? Yeah. And then I guess I gave them a Coastal Carolina loss. Let me see here. 2 and 2, 2 and 3. 2 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 4, 4 and 4, 5 and 4, 6 and 4. All right, so I gave them a Southern Miss win and then a Coastal Carolina win. That's at home. And then the last 2 are on the road. All right, so that seems like that 6.5 number is right there. Do they win 6 or 7 ball games? Okay. And so we'll have to wait to find out, right? We'll get a little bit of an idea playing Stony Brook, but then you're going up against Virginia Tech and Ohio State. Then you do get Western Michigan, but then you're going up against App State to open up the Sun Belt. So, I mean, you're playing 3 outstanding teams, and I'll tell you, I don't know much about the whole football program at Western or Stony Brook, but those would appear to be lesser opponents than what Marshall should be. So if you beat one of those last 2 teams, then you get the 7 wins based on what I gave you, right? And that's including a Southern Miss win on the road and a Coastal Carolina win at home. So if you are 6 and 4 heading into ODU and then JMU, I mean, the good season is there for the taking. Where you finish in the Sun Belt East, would be dependent on other situations. But boy, if you are 6 and 4 heading into ODU and heading into JMU, and you can win either 1 or 2 of those games, not easy, both on the road, it would be a solid season for JMU, as I'm now going to be squandered by a wasp. Not great, Bob. All right. I'm going to get out of here. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't want to be bothering any wasps. Thanks so much. Again, almost 1,300 subscribers. Thank you very much. We'll continue to do the preview of the previews, and this was partly Phil Steele's preview. All right. Be sure to get the magazine. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. If you don't come back until after the holiday, please enjoy. Please be safe. All right. And we will continue with Locked On Sunbelt again tomorrow. Have a great Monday, everybody.